Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. I hope you're all doing well and welcome. My name is Marilyn Shannon, and this is the Breaking Free Show. And I am delighted to have you join us today. It's always good to see you all. I do see you, believe me. I'm looking into that camera as if I'm looking at you. That's how I like to do it because I want to feel connected to you. And I appreciate your being here each and every week to join us for what always is a unique experience in my eyes and in my heart. We always bring really cool guests on that talk about all kinds of things that they're going through, strategies, tools, techniques, things that we all can learn from and experience. And today we're going to do that again. But before we get started, let me say hi to Amnon.
Hello,
How
how are
are
you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
It's a good start to the week.
I'm good. I we've had a lot of family stuff. My mother's in the
Yeah.
hospital, but knock on wood, she's going to be fine. She's a very strong woman, and she's being taken care of well. So keep your fingers crossed, everybody, and a little prayer never hurt, or a
No,
lot of
never
prayer
does.
never hurt. Always helps. So, but all is good. So today I'm going to introduce my guest to you. His name is Bob Lancer, and he is, I would say, an expert in parenting and stress free, joyful, conscious, loving parenting. And what better day than today to talk about love? Because we're going to be talking about that on different areas and different scenarios. So let me bring on Bob Lancer to our streaming video stage. Hi, Bob. How are you?
Hello, hello. It's great to be with you.
It's nice to have you here, all the way from Atlanta.
Yes, Atlanta, Georgia, where it's about 90 degrees today, but a lovely sunny day, and the trees are green, and it's great to have this opportunity to talk to you about a totally revolutionary approach to parenting.
Well, good. Well, I think we need that revolutionary approach
Yeah,
because I yeah
it's definitely going to raise a lot of people's opinions both ways because it's definitely time for a major shift in
good
how we raise our children.
good. Well, tell us about you.
Well, I'm very happy. I'm at peace. I feel secure. I have two children, one 13 years old, two boys, 13 years old and 7 year olds. They're exactly 6 years apart, both born on February 9th. And I'm a divorced dad. Divorce was not what I wanted, not for myself or for my children. But everything that happens is always for the best, and it always gives us a great opportunity. I've been, you know, called a parenting expert for about 3 decades now. I had my own news segment on WXIA TV here in Atlanta, Georgia, which is the NBC affiliate. I was on WSB Radio here, which broadcasting to 35 states over the air, called Bob Lancer's Parenting Solutions. That was on for about 15 years. For a short time, I had a radio show on Radio Disney here in Atlanta called Ask Bob, where the kids would come on and complain about their parents. I have a best-selling book out called Parenting with Love Without Anger or Stress. I have other books out as well.
Okay.
Um, and I
Why
guess, oh,
parenting?
oh, and
Yeah.
also, I am the parenting expert of the Atlanta Public Schools cable TV network.
So why parenting? Why is that your subject?
Well, it came from, I've always been involved in personal development, as now that's called a coach, but also as an inspirational speaker and as an author. And it really became obvious that all of the challenges that we face in adulthood come from the program we receive primarily in the first 6 years of life. So once I started studying people like Maria Montessori, it really changed my whole perspective on the fulfilling the human potential. And ultimately, that led me to something I call the method now, which is a 10-minute process that I guide people through for releasing negative emotional patterns, turning it into joy for more abundance in every area of their life and more fulfillment in every relationship, including parenting. So it just became apparent to me that what happens in the parent child relationship is really the most crucial element for the trajectory that a life is going to be on. So helping parents to recognize how they are impeding their child's development, because that's really what's going on. Your child doesn't need any help to develop. There's a natural pattern of development in every child, but we do a lot of things to impede it through micromanagement. And it's by releasing parents from that control pattern based on fear that we allow children to blossom into the magnificent fulfillment of the human potential. You know, the whole planet, the human race, it's all about evolution into higher states of consciousness, higher levels of functioning. And the child is at the leading edge of that. So when parents come in to micromanage, it's like trying to control the past, trying to make the future into the past. And that's where the problems happen.
So before I go get into Bob, because I'm going to get into Bob in a minute, I just
Cool.
want to remind everyone to please feel free to call us anytime during the show if you have a question, a comment, whatever it is. Please call in at 919-518-9773. Of course, that's if you have a phone, or you can Skype in with us to computers, that's plural, 2K Voice. You'll come in on voice, not video. And you can also be part of our chat and just put your name next to the window and join us there. You can ask questions, you can communicate, and we'd love to have you there. So first of all, let me back up a minute. So you mentioned Montessori. Why
Yes.
Montessori?
She was an amazing visionary. She had tremendous insight into the child development process and the natural pattern of that process. Children are, from the earliest age, pursuing one thing only, and that's mastery. And it's driven by their instincts to survive, because when they come into this world, they're completely dependent upon, people outside of them for their survival. So they're instinctively driven to master, to learn, to master, to understand, to develop life wisdom, to learn from experiences, to try everything, to take risks in order to develop the ability to not just survive, but then to thrive, and then beyond thriving, to create a peaceful world community, because that's what the survival of the species depends upon. And we can see that now with the level of weapons of mass destruction that we have. We really do count on a peaceful world community. So the basic slogan of Montessori is raising children for a peaceful world.
That's brilliant, because I do want to talk about like Orlando and things like that, but I think it's important to lay in, you
You
know,
mean Disneyland? You mean Disney World?
yeah, I think it's important to lay
Yeah, it's
in
pretty
some of
pretty
the,
ironic. Pretty
yeah,
ironic, isn't
exactly.
it?
And I didn't make that connection, but I'm glad
Yeah,
you brought it up. But
yeah.
I do want to talk about all these things, and I do want to, because it's not very often we talk about Montessori. It's kind of like, it's there, but, you know, it's
Well, not
just,
everybody understands Montessori the
yeah.
way I do. Not every Montessori school is going to present the concepts in terms of the whole person development. When I go to Montessori schools, I talk about how to apply Montessori principles to your marriage,
Hmm.
how to apply Montessori principles in the workplace. So you're not going to find this anywhere else in
Hmm.
terms of the approach that I take to Montessori. But giving a child, in the first 6 years of life, a Montessori, uh, a quality Montessori experience, because every school is only as good as the teachers and the directors of the school.
Sure.
But providing that child with
Right.
that foundation
Right.
is really providing a child with a foundation for life, because it's all about providing the child with the opportunities to explore their own developmental process.
Hmm.
In other words, she created materials that the child naturally gravitates toward for the development of
Hmm.
mastery.
Well, I mean, so it's a philosophy, right? So if we
It's a
learning,
philosophy. It's also called the Montessori method. It's very
right?
much a technology.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's a process. There are materials that the children work through, but there is a philosophical basis to it.
Hmm.
And the philosophical basis to it is really all about, helping the child to discover who he or she truly is, because that's the life path that's right. Here's the challenge. You can't do that as a parent if you're not living that life yourself.
Absolutely.
So what we do in our relationship with our children is we project our stuff onto our children. And so in the work that I do with parents is I help them recognize And it's a very simple process. When you are actually projecting your limitations, when you're overloading your child with your own baggage in an attempt to provide the child with a successful basis in life. I just did a parenting seminar on Saturday, and one of the parents said, well, how do you teach a child to be responsible? Well, the child is already responsible. Everyone is responsible. Whatever, if the child slips and falls and hits her head, it's because she wasn't watching where she was going, or because she didn't have the physical development yet to protect herself from falling. Every single individual, every single person, whatever their age, is already responsible.
Right.
So what you want to do is you want to help your child to fulfill responsibilities, to recognize responsibilities, and to develop the mastery to fulfill those responsibilities beautifully.
Right. There is a somewhat of a vicious cycle. And when I listen to parents talk about children and relaying information about what their children are doing, and I hear parents who say, well, I can't do that. And right in front of their children, they'll say, well, and they're just like me. I want to burn up. I can't believe when, people do that. And I see a lot of adults and children, don't have coping skills.
Well, it's not even, it's, the foundation is codependence.
Yep.
And we live in a society where the parents themselves, we were all trained in codependence. What does that mean? That when you were a little kid, your father related to your mother as if she was responsible for his happiness, and vice versa. And so the child is programmed by that. The child we're programming the child, and then the child grows up to be a parent who says, the reason I'm angry at you is because of you. The reason I'm frustrated is because of you. The reason I'm unhappy is because of you. So let's cut right to the solution. Here's the radical solution. Here's the revolutionary approach to parenting that prepares the whole world for peace. And the revolutionary approach to parenting is really so simple. How you feel is all that matters. How you feel as a parent is all that matters. And so when you're operating from a state of contentment and confidence and security and joy and unconditional love and appreciation, everything in your life is going to flow properly. Everything in your life works from that state of consciousness, from that state of inner feeling. This is the profound shift in human awareness. In 300 years, everybody's going to live this way. They're going to recognize that how they feel is the cause of what happens to them.
And that's the issue. People don't realize that it is okay. It is their birthright. It is what we have to do. And if we don't do it, we're going to decombust. It is very important. We've made life way too complicated, and people don't realize that they can just be happy in this moment. And
exactly. And so it's a shift right now.
It is.
But
it's happening, and it's happening.
It is. More and more
Yes.
people do it. The method that I provide people with is making the shift happen tremendously. The shift happened in my own life.
What was your shift?
My shift was when I went through the divorce, and I found myself feeling completely shattered by it because of my knowledge of child development and how important it is to children to see their parents working things out. And I was in a situation where that just wasn't something that their mother wanted to do. And I plunged into tremendous depression and powerlessness and helplessness and grief and loss until I finally hit bottom, and I discovered what I call the method, which is the method for transforming your negative emotions in like 10 minutes into inner peace and joy and love and security and safety and empowerment. And from that space, it doesn't matter what happens to you. You find the opportunities within whatever is happening to you to make your life better and better. So the choice to always make is to try to make the positive changes you want in your life from a place of total contentment. As you as a parent really center yourself into feelings of steady, stable, contentment, joy, love, appreciation in the present moment, regardless of how your children are behaving, and stop putting yourself into places of stress and anxiety, you discover your children following their own GPS, their own inner guidance system, into the fulfillment of their greater potential.
Are you familiar with HeartMath?
Yes, I am. I am familiar with HeartMath, and what I do, and I've worked with people using the method, taking them into this new space, who have gone through HeartMath. And HeartMath is a nice process.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between the method that I guide people through and things like heart math and even just pure mindfulness, and I don't mean to sound disparaging, but is that the method works,
Mm-hmm.
and it works instantly, and it works right away, and it works every time.
Mm-hmm.
So, heart math gives you a nice sort of philosophical, psychological approach to dealing with things, but it doesn't immediately release you into the states of joy and fulfillment and security and empowerment that you get through the method. Um, and that's why so many of the people who have a foundation in heart math and discover my work are coming to me and they realize, wow, this is really the missing key. It's very consistent with heart math. The difference is heart math is something you learn, the method is something you do. If you're ready to finally just experience complete unconditional contentment, no matter what your bank account says, no matter what's going on at work, no matter what's happening in your marriage, and no matter what's going on with your children, then you're ready to make that shift and you can have it. And you learn that it is the ability to just feel really, really good in the present moment. And you don't have to make yourself feel good. I have another book out called Lighten Up. How to harness the power of happiness to create the life you want. You don't have to make yourself feel good. You just have to recognize how you're making yourself feel miserable. And
So
the
let's
way you
talk.
make,
Okay, yeah,
and that goes back to the
okay.
first 6 years of life.
Yeah, I want to talk specifically about specific things.
Sure.
Because I am familiar with heart math a lot, and I've seen it work. Because
Well, even with your mother, even relative to your mother right now, the best thing you can do for the situation is to recognize where you're experiencing any kind of anxiety, where you're feeling any sense of pressure or powerlessness or fear.
Right.
And we would then use the method to free you to go into a place of profound inner peace where you actually experience the reality that nothing at all can go wrong.
Right. Well, and if I didn't do that, I couldn't be here.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm in agreement with you. That
Yeah,
work can be done, I mean, on a dime. Because if we couldn't, then I certainly couldn't be here. And I've done this show under many, under many things. And I am a testament that this kind of work and the kind of thing that Bob is speaking about, the method, I believe all of this stuff can work because I've seen it. Yes, it does.
And it keeps you sane.
Yes, I know. I mean, and the point.
And life is going to continue to show up.
Absolutely.
To face you. No matter, one of the principles is that no matter what choices you make in life, you're going to face what you don't want to face.
Right. Well,
and when you face
certainly.
it, what comes up is those patterns you learned in the first 6 years of life.
So let me just back up for a second.
Sure.
So for our audience, so that they, because I want to make sure that everybody understands some of what and where we're going with this. So when you are experiencing joy, appreciation, gratitude, you can only be doing that if you're really doing it, not from your head, but from your heart. You've got to be there. And when you're there, things look different. The world does look better out of rosy glasses. And when you are accessing that part, the joy, and those are easier emotions to experience because we've all had things in our lives that we can pinpoint and go, appreciation, gratitude,
joy. That's your natural state.
Absolutely. So we can go there and make good decisions. And the more we acknowledge that place and build that place and stretch that place for more and more of our time, and coming from there, the better the choices are that we make.
And the way I would describe it is your feelings guide you intuitively with infinite intelligence. And when you're not feeling a sense of joy, what's happening is you're experiencing a meaningless life. And everyone can relate to this experience. When you're not happy, you're feeling a sense of meaninglessness. And when life becomes unhappy enough, you feel like there's no point in going on. So when you're experiencing joy, you're experiencing a meaningful life. Count on a meaningful life to guide you.
Right.
Basically, you're being guided on an intuitive level, like a red light and a green light. And so as you allow yourself to focus on how you feel and just allow yourself to deepen into more and more states of joy, fulfillment, gratitude, inner peace, security, and safety, you're on the right path. As soon as you start feeling a sense of stress or struggle or insecurity or anxiety or not enoughness or any kind of negative emotional state whatsoever, that is the sign, right, that you're making the wrong decision, that you're moving in the wrong direction. So how do parents see? One of the biggest mistakes in parenting is trying to raise children to do as they're told. If you look back in history, you see the most heinous crimes in history were done by people who justified their behavior by saying they were just following orders. They were just doing as they were told. We don't want to raise kids to do as they're told. We want to raise kids to be able to make a better decision, to make the best decision possible, to make the right decision, whether there's someone there to tell them what to do or when there's someone there telling them to do the wrong thing. Well, how do you teach a kid to make the right decision? You get in touch with your feelings and you model it and you demonstrate it. You follow the path of joy in your life, the path of joy, love, and inspiration, moment by moment. How do you do that? You recognize the emotional patterns that block it. You identify who you learned it from. Then you go through a step-by-step process of setting yourself free.
Um, well, let me just remind our guests at any point in time to please feel free to call in 919-518-9773 or computers 2K voice, and you certainly can take part in our chat. If you have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to call in and check in with us. You know, one of the interesting thing is, not the interesting thing, but a very important thing is, you know, when we are coming from that place of joy in our feelings,
Mm-hmm.
we can listen.
Mm.
Our listening is turned on, and when our listening is turned on, we have um, a head start into knowing and listening for the feelings that are not there. And
Well,
then what
yeah, you're in receptive mode. You're allowing yourself to receive all the things that you desire.
exactly. So it's so you know it's and the other thing I want to talk about also is when we talk about children, which I believe Bob was speaking about earlier. I mean, you know, very often we squish the creativity of our children. We don't always allow them to just go with
Well,
things,
because
you know.
it's squished in ourselves.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember my daughter came home from school one day from art class and she was told something about her paper she was doing and it wasn't right and the teacher wanted her to do a certain way and I was like, "Are you kidding? It's art. Let her just explore what she wants to do and do it on her own." I would never, you know, want to squish that. I know that there are certain dynamics that you have to do, but you know, we want our kids to feel those things. So I
Well,
want to
what's
go
yeah,
ahead. Go
yeah.
ahead.
Well, what's ironic is that you find a lot of people, a lot of really angry, frustrated, unhappy adults, blaming children, judging children negatively, saying, they're misbehaving or the millennial generation is, selfish and self-centered and unmotivated. You hear all this negativity coming from adults toward
Right.
children, right? And you hear them blaming the children for their negativity. So what's happening is the human race is going through a kind of a wheat from the chaff separation right now in terms of consciousness. And there are those who hold on to making other people responsible for how miserable they are making themselves feel. And then there are others who are recognizing that unconditional love is a choice that I can make. And I don't have to hold on to my negative perspectives of children, of other adults, of other situations. I don't have to hold on to those perspectives to justify my unhappiness. I
Right.
can let go of my unhappiness. And so this is the change that's taking place. So children are phenomenal, they're wonderful, they're terrific. But if you're feeling anxious, insecure, uptight, and you're in a micromanagement mode with them because you think you have to teach them right from wrong, the moment you're getting uptight with your child, you're blocking your child's ability to actually feel right from wrong. And wrong will feel right to the child who's being raised by an uptight parent.
So let me ask you something. So as a child, what was your background?
Oh, my
What
background,
was your
my
yeah,
back,
what's your
my
history as a
background was
child?
wonderful. I mean, my background was wonderful, um, and I've gotten to that perspective of my background through the method, because what happens is as you go through and recognize the painful emotional patterns and limiting beliefs that you were raised with, as you go through that process, using the method. What you do is you sort of free your parents in your own awareness from those negative patterns, and you experience the pure, unconditional love and support they always had for you. There's no one who loves you, no matter what their behavior was. There's no one who loves you as deeply and as perfectly as your birth parents love you. And that power, that energy is always there to support you. And as you allow yourself to accept that, you find yourself thriving. But my parenting, the parenting that I was exposed to was the same parenting that just about everybody else was exposed to. You know, if you look back at your life, you say, oh, my parents were idyllic. I don't know why I'm so depressed, you know, or I don't know why my marriages aren't working out, or you know, I don't know why I can't be faithful to my husband. My parents had such a perfect marriage. Your parents had a perfect way of masking. So to whatever extent you're experiencing anxiety, insecurity, depression, frustration, anger, unhappiness, it came because your parents were modeling that pattern primarily in their relationship with one another. The way that your parents related to each other in the first 6 years of your life formed the patterns of your way of relating to yourself, to other people, and to your life.
So let me ask you something. So do you think, based on what you just said, that um, that there are no good, like, I'm trying to understand what you just said.
All parents are good.
Okay.
All parents are great. All parents are perfect. You come into this life to experience the challenges that are in line with your own spiritual evolution. But there are no perfect parents, because no parent was raised by a perfect parent. The human race is evolving. Our perfection is expanding. And so, yes, your parents had emotional patterns and beliefs that were preventing them from being fulfilled, from being happy, and from being successful. Now, if you think your parents were perfectly happy, fulfilled, and successful, then that means that you were really exposed to some tremendously thick masking. And we would use the method to uncover those patterns in you, though, that you were taught, that are preventing you from experiencing more fulfillment, more abundance in every area of your life, more joy, more security, and more success in every area of your life. It's not, the method is not about blaming your parents, though. It's really about appreciating them. Because once you recognize, okay, this was a painful, let's say you experience, let's say you were programmed to feel that you're not supposed to really find joy in your work, that your work is just supposed to be about making money, and you're supposed to work really, 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 really hard and live basically a joyless existence, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So that's a program that you got from your parents. As you release that program from your parents, you discover that the real key to being fully successful and leading a meaningful life is exactly the opposite. The more joy and fulfillment and happiness you experience right where you are, the more the opportunities open up for you to experience more of everything that you want.
We have a question here on the chat from
Okay.
PW. And PW says, my child seems to see right through me, and I can't hide my stress. What can I do?
You have to, okay, first step is get in touch with your stress. You have to feel it. You have to let yourself feel your stress and recognize your stress. And then the next step, it would be to identify which parent you learned it from. You know, this is the process I guide people. It's an amazing system. It takes about 10 minutes over the phone, and immediately they experience the help that they're looking for. So it's not about hiding your stress or concealing your stress. When you're living in a state of stress, you are copying at least one of your parents' stress patterns. And the more stress you're in, the more irritable you are with your child, the less understanding and flexible, the more intolerant you are, the more harshly you trigger off, the more you're stressing out the child. And so this leads the child into a really dangerous place. Why? Because how you feel determines how things are going to open up for you. So if you have an angry, stressed out child, that kid is going to start having negative opportunities opening up. The wrong kind of people are going to come into his life. Accidents, mishaps, problems in school, problems with health. You know, children are also under this kind of law of responsibility, that how you feel determines what's going to be happening to you in your life. So as you allow yourself, Pete, to go into deeper states of contentment and stop stressing yourself out with what you're thinking about, with how you're perceiving your situation, and just start trusting on peace and contentment and feelings of safety and security, no matter what's going on in your life, you'll start finding everything in your life starting to open up in a better way. And then you'll find your child also feeling better and being guided from within into more positive behavior, more positive situations, more
Good.
positive sense of self.
That's a good response. And I would add also that by adding to what Bob said, also acknowledging it's okay to, depending on how old your child is, but in degrees, adding that you might be having a hard day or that things might not be so good that day or whatever. However, you're needing to explore it so that, because I know that kids, when we hide things, they feel it, and then they wonder what it is that we're hiding, and it becomes bigger and bigger.
It's
So
not just that, they also learn to mask and numb themselves to their own feelings.
exactly.
Because whatever, in the first 6 years of life, this goes back to Montessori, the child has what's called an absorbent mind. And that means whatever the child is exposed to physically and psychologically becomes sort of the pattern of the bedrock of the child's personality. So when you're trying to hide how you feel, you're also trying to hide it from yourself. And that's the exact opposite of how you're going to heal from it. There's nothing in your life that's stressing you out. It's only your perspective that's stressing you out. It's only your thoughts that are stressing you out. Pay attention to what you're thinking about to see how you are making yourself stressed out. And then so feel the stress, notice what you're thinking about that's causing it, then try to feel some compassion for yourself to just go into, do less and feel more calm, content, secure, serene. If you're stuck on that, if you can't really get out of that negative pattern, that's when you can use assistance.
So here's another question, Bob. What would you say are the steps to breaking free from negative emotions? Is there anything else you would add? That's another question on here. But I think you've already probably answered some of it. But is there one particular thing a parent can do or children, or that we can help our children do together that would break free from a negative emotion other than stress? I mean, they're all pretty much the same, but what else would you suggest?
They're the same and then they're different. But, the first thing I would say is just go to lovethemethod.com,
Okay.
lovethemethod.com. And there
Okay.
I actually have
Okay.
on that website the process that I guide you through. But I can also help you. I don't charge for the first session, so you can have a free demonstration and experience it right away. But the first thing you want to do when you're feeling any kind of stress is you want to let yourself feel it. Let it come up all the way, even if it feels overwhelming and painful. But it doesn't end there.
I want to talk about Orlando some, because I know that's on a lot of people's minds, and some of what you know might support some of that. I'm sure it does. So, what are your thoughts about that?
About
The
that is
things
stop
that
thinking.
had, huh?
My thoughts about that is stop thinking about that, because you bring about what you think about. And if you're watching the news and you're all caught up in the drama of it, you're bringing it into your life and you're feeding the situation. Let it go. It's not important. What is important? How you feel. So if you ever find the news giving you the blues, turn it off. You say, well, I don't want to live in a bubble. I got to know what's really going on. You know what's really going on? How you feel determines what's going to happen to you. And if you're not really selective of what you're doing to make yourself feel bad, you're going to start feeling like a powerless victim and blaming the world and other people and outside situations for how badly you feel. If your child is exposed to that pattern, you're raising a codependent child who's going to think that, well, everybody else is at fault. That's why I'm not successful. And it's going to have a million excuses for not thriving in life. So
Yeah,
my
I would
suggestion about
definitely agree. I said to somebody today on Facebook, I said, we have got to stop commenting and passing around negative energy. We just have to stop promoting the posts, the comments that are negative. We should
if you,
only be sharing good things that promote peace, love, none of this other stuff. I so agree with you.
yeah, if you want to think about Orlando, think about Disney World.
Yeah. So, so yeah, I agree. So let's talk about some of the other work that you're doing.
Okay.
So tell us some of the other things that you're involved with.
Well, there are two branches to what I do. I work with parents and teachers, helping them to recognize how their state is really the crucial factor in their relationship with their child, their experience of the child, and their influence upon the child. So the parenting is one dimension, and then
Okay.
the other dimension is what I do. It's called the method,
Okay. Yeah.
which is from the website
Right. Right.
lovethemethod.com. And
Right.
this is
And hold on just a
and
second.
this
Amnon
so
has something that he didn't agree
I
with.
I don't agree. I don't want to be an ostrich.
okay,
I
then
want to
focus
see
on
what's going on because
go ahead.
life is the
Go,
good and the bad mixed together.
then you go ahead and you have a mixed up experience, but I'm going to be a lot happier. You could be as
I
miserable as you want to make yourself. You could focus on all the things that make you feel frustrated, insecure, and negative about the human race and life. It's really up to you. We all have that free
but
choice.
yeah, if you do
Hmm.
concentrate only on the bad, but if you are looking at the bad, looking at the good, looking at the bad, looking at the good, you
That's right.
know how good is good because now also you have something to compare it to.
If you don't have,
Otherwise, it's
if you,
just
absolutely, no matter what you do, no matter what choice you make, you could choose to stay as positive as you can.
right.
You're going to face something that you don't want to face. You're going to come up against that contrast in life where things are not going to be the way you want them to be. But how you respond to that is, do I hold my attention on what I don't want? Or do I use the painful feeling I have to tell me that I need to shift my focus? Use the painful feeling you have to shift your focus. So if you are noticing that there's something troubling going on in your life, then you're feeling troubled. And so what you do is you let that go immediately. Your feelings tell you when you're paying attention to something destructive. Your life is going to go in the direction of your attention. This is an absolute law. Your attention determines your future, it determines your present, it determines where you're going. Whatever you pay attention to determines what your life experience is going to be. So you can choose to be wealthy, to be healthy, to be in great relationships with your children, to be fulfilled, and to be successful. Yes, you are going to confront situations that show you that you're not feeling good about what's happening. That feeling is telling you shift your attention, let go of the problem, and you'll start finding your life getting better and your impact on society getting better. Because you see, your joy radiates. The true currency in life is joy. This is the shift that's taking place in consciousness. The true currency
He's
is
not
joy. That
listening.
means the more joy you feel, the more abundance you're going to have, the more freedom you're going to have, the better opportunities you're going to have, the better your life is going to go. And as you bring joy into yourself, you're actually bringing joy into the universe. You're bringing joy into everybody because how we feel is contagious. We radiate that
So
state.
Bob, let me ask you something.
That's how
How do
you
you,
help,
Bob, how do
but
you bring
that's how you help the world
how do you bring joy into your life?
by recognizing when I'm not in joy,
And what do you
and
do?
I see what I'm paying attention to.
And then what do you do? What do you
I
do to
let it.
bring joy
I
into your life?
Well, again, if I'll tell you what I do, but if I'm stuck, I use the method
Okay.
because what the method is, if you're familiar with what's called the law of attraction,
Yep.
so the method is the missing key to the law of attraction because the law of attraction, as profound and as powerful and as wonderful as Esther Hicks's teachings are, and they really are leading edge. But what they don't give you is a means of how do you get out of the negative emotion when you're stuck in it, when you're feeling stuck in anger, when you're feeling stuck in blame or resentment or unhappiness. So the method is something that I discovered that actually takes you from the negative to the positive. But you don't have to always use the method because sometimes you could just make the shift. So what do I make the shift on? So let's say I have a conversation with someone and we have a disagreement. I can leave that conversation and I can think about the disagreement and I can feel stressed out. The moment I notice myself feeling stressed out, I say, what am I thinking about? And I realize I'm thinking about that. I said, let me let that thought go and just focus on how I feel.
Right.
By focusing on how you feel and making joy and contentment is the key. You see, everybody's been thinking that in order for me to improve my situation, I got to feel really dissatisfied with the way things are. Wrong. We've been working on that forever. Everybody
I
does
don't
that.
I mean, what did you just say? Everybody thinks that dissent
Well,
that
as
what?
a general rule, people
Yeah.
think that in order to improve my life, I have to feel really dissatisfied with the way my life is. That's what people have been counting on for thousands of years. It doesn't work. In order for your life to improve, you allow yourself to feel completely content and appreciate where you are. Totally content. as you deepen your state of contentment, all the things that you desire are attracted to you and things open up for you. There's a whole new shift in understanding how success really works. And it's totally connected to happiness.
Right. I mean, I am sure that there are a lot of people that are dissatisfied, and discontent is
Sure.
certainly a common thread. But I will say that, and this is what I would suggest for for everybody listening, and as much as you can, is to certainly surround yourself not with those people. Even if you're not 100% feeling joy or appreciation or gratitude, find people who are feeling it more than that, more than not. And the more we are surrounding ourselves with people who are living the best they can live, making a difference, working at it, not from their head, but from their heart, the better everybody will be, and the better we'll all feel. I think that's um, real. That's how we manifest.
Well, but
And
the thing is,
manifestation does not happen from the head. It happens only from the heart, and it has to be in every cell of your body. It has to run through you. You have to believe to your core and through your blood vessels and into your bone and your every part of you that something is possible, and that you want it, and that's how you manifest.
right,
So,
but you mentioned something about surround yourself with
yep.
positive people. You can't surround yourself with people who are any more positive than you are. So the people that are going to be surrounding you, the people that you're going to feel attracted to and that are going to be attracted to you, the people that you're going to naturally find yourself developing connections with are an exact reflection of how you're feeling about yourself. So look at how this works in parenting. If my children are behaving in a way that causes me to feel disrespected, I don't work on changing their behavior. I realize that if I'm feeling disrespected, that's a negative state I'm putting myself in. I'm lacking respect for myself. So as I start focusing on my own sense of self-value and feel of myself to be a sacred being and relate respectfully to myself and care about how I feel, that means I stop thinking about how they're behaving and I start doing things for me that help me to feel better. From that place, I find my children treating me with more respect. If you're at the grocery store and someone relates to you in a way that shows like dismissive and doesn't show you a lot of value, that's just a reflection of how you're feeling inside. Don't try to correct that person or criticize that person or find someone new to hang out with. Look within and start giving yourself a deeper sense of your own self-value and your own self-worth. So the people who come into our lives who seem negative are really helping us to show us that we need to become more positive within. The people, the circumstances, everything around you is a reflection of how you're feeling deep down inside. You
Well,
improve how you're
Bob, I have to
feeling.
disagree with you, I think, because
Sure,
I'm not
sure.
sure, but I think I disagree with you some. Because I
Okay,
feel like we have all of this in us already. And what
sure.
we are doing is, if you see somebody that has something that you want, and you may not have accessed that in yourself yet, but
Uh-huh.
you can taste some of it, you can see it in somebody else.
Hmm.
You're going to hopefully want to be around that person, learn from that person, connect with that person, so that you can get more of what they have. Otherwise, none of us, not me, not you, would be in the coaching business, or anybody that's doing any kind of positive, personal development work isn't going to
Sure,
have anything if nobody could relate to it. So,
sure,
what I'm
sure.
saying is, we have lots of coaches in our lives. Maybe I get paid to be a coach. Maybe you get paid to be a coach. But we have all kinds of people in our lives that are coaching us along the way. And what I'm suggesting is find people in your life that are having an experience that looks good, that you would like to have, that you want to share in good experiences, and go do it and be with those people, because I believe that that wakes up in us what is our natural right. And I think you said something earlier about, something being our natural state of being. And if that's the case, then all of this stuff is already there. All we're needing to do is wake it up and remember we have it. And the more people that remind us of that, the better everything will be. Now, there are going to be people who stick out and who maybe are further away from something than other people, but nonetheless, I think it's really good to reach out.
It is good to reach out, but and even when it comes to a coaching situation, if so, the people who are attracted to me are attracted to my joy. They can feel the vibration. They can feel the state that I'm in. It's not what I say. It's where I'm at, and they're attracted to that. In order for them to maintain the relationship with me, though, they also have to be committed to making those changes in themselves. So as they are opening up to their own potential to feel more and more joy, the relationship that they have with me and the relationship that they have with others is bound to improve. Absolutely. So, yes, this is our natural state. This joy, it's actually ecstatic, it's blissful. It's a feeling of absolute safety in the universe and total abundance and freedom. This is our natural state. So, all it's a matter of doing is freeing ourselves from the limiting beliefs that we're holding about life. For example, if you're anxious about money, that means you believe that scarcity is possible.
So
Or if
yeah,
you,
I would,
yeah,
and so here's another thing that I want. You
sure.
talk about limiting beliefs. I would also something I often talk about when I'm training or whatever is really listening. The listening that we do, the listening that we practice on a day-to-day basis, the art of listening, because everything around us is giving off information. Everything is trying to tell us something. And so these limiting beliefs or these underlying conversations that are going on underneath the surface, the more we tune into it, the more we will understand where we are, where somebody else is, what we might necessary, what we need to do, what we can do, where we are, what our options are. And these underlying conversations are very subtle. And the more we tune in, the more practice we have tuning in, the more practice we have at hearing what underneath our surface we're saying to ourselves. And when we start hearing that and we start hearing what's going on around us and we start to put two and two together, we get some answers. So, listening is key. Practice listening. Practice listening. Practice listening to where your emotions are coming from. Practice listening to where your head is. Practice, practice, practice listening. It's
Yeah,
important.
and what you're describing, I would consider to be pretty advanced work.
Thanks. Well, it's not. It's really not. It's just I've been listening for a very long time, and when and I am amazed at what I learn when other people listen too. Because when we all listen, we come to a point where we're going to hear the same things. We're going to hear the same thing. This is not rocket science. The laws of nature, the laws of love, the laws of beingness, the laws of creation, the laws of humanity are going to take us to the same place. It's along the continuum that our practice takes us. And so, we're going to end up in the same place when we listen. And what you're saying about love and compassion and gratitude and joy and all those, the more we listen, the more we're going to find it. We just have to listen. And people like you have to talk about these things and, you know, tell people that it's their birthright. It's their right. It's an obligation that we have to this planet to enjoy ourselves, to feel it's an obligation that we have to wake up and then share it and be okay with it. So,
Yeah, obligation, privilege,
yeah,
opportunity. I look at it as the one most wonderful thing that's ever happened in my life.
absolutely.
Is
Tell me
is
about
is
your children, by the way, because your
Sure.
sons and my birthday's on the 5th of February, so I have
Oh,
a connection to your
okay.
children already. Tell me about your children.
My oldest son is named Gabriel. He's 13, and my younger son is named Aaron, and he's 7. And they're very different, and yet they're similar. Um, they are, you know, they're amazing. The way I relate to my kids is really the way I teach people to relate to their kids. And the first thing is that how you see your child is a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you
Well,
see
that's
your
good to
child as
know because I see my kids as doing great,
good,
right?
good, yeah, yeah, it's a totally do you see your kids as they need to be fixed, they need to be controlled, they need to be taught, they need to, or do you just see your kids as being phenomenal beings, with levels of intelligence and creativity and heart and soul that's infinitely beyond measure.
Right.
So my primary way of relating to my children is joy. And that means that I place how I feel as paramount. If there's chaos going on around me, they're fighting, or they're doing, dropping food on the floor, or making crumbs in the creases of the couch, and then complaining and freaking out if they see a cockroach. Um, my response to that is I'm not going to react to that kind of stuff. I'm going to find myself more and more content,
Well,
fulfilled,
that's important.
secure, inspired.
That's very important because too many times people react too much to things, and we're going to constantly be reacting, as opposed to, being and just getting through things and picking and choosing the things that you want to react to. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, what is the worst thing that happens over spilt milk? I mean, seriously, or a couple of crumbs. And people do not hear us when we yell. Kids, nobody. People are not going to hear us if we're yelling. And yelling does not have to be at the top of your voice. Yelling can be quiet. But if you sound yelling, if you sound like you're angry, people shut off. They don't listen. So what Bob is saying is very important. You have to pick and choose what you react to.
Well, I wouldn't actually put it exactly that way.
No, you
I don't
didn't.
think,
I did.
yeah, because
No, you can put it. Listen, Bob, honey, you can put it another way. It's okay. That's it's a free will. I put it that way. You can put it another way. I'm
yeah,
interested in hearing what you have to say.
sure, sure, and I agree with everything you said. The the reason why it's not really about reacting to anything. It's where you're coming from that counts. It's not what you're responding to that counts. It's where you're coming from that counts. So, it might seem, well, this is just passive parenting. You just let kids do whatever the hell they want, and who cares, and he's going to run out in traffic, and I guess he'll learn from the accident. No, it's not about that. It's just about being aware of where you're coming from, because the more centered and the more calm and the more content and the more fulfilled you feel in the present moment, the more order you generate around you.
Mm.
And that applies to children's behavior and everything else. And then you'll be guided from there. You talked about listening. And I love that teaching about listening, and listening. We don't just listen with our ears, we listen with our heart, we listen with our feelings. We go inside to sense how I'm feeling in the present moment. That's when you get the sense of when to react, or when to respond, or when to take action. It's coming. You react from within, not from without. So all of your abilities are gifts to you that God gave you. Not everybody has all of your abilities. Every one of your abilities is a gift that God gave you for you to enjoy. When you're
Um,
taking
mhm.
action and feeling a sense of labor and frustration and drudgery and obligation,
Right.
you're engaging in meaningless action. When you're feeling a sense of inspiration and empowerment and excitement and enthusiasm from the action you're taking, now you're living a meaningful life. Your action has meaning, and the joy that you're putting into it is going to create more order in your life and in the lives of everyone around you, including your children.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's what I mean by picking and choosing,
Uh-huh.
because you can only pick and choose when you're conscious. Well, not only, but if you're conscious and you pick and choose, you're going to pick and choose in the right consciousness and the right
Sure,
action. So
sure.
definitely,
It's all about
absolutely,
joy. It's all about joy.
absolutely, absolutely. So once again, let me remind anybody out there, if they would love to call in, you're more than welcome to 919-518-9773, or computers 2K voice on Skype. There's still a few moments to do that, and certainly you're more than welcome to ask questions in our chat if you like, and I'll be happy to relay the question to Bob, and we can go from there. So, in the last, like in a closing moment, how would you
Mhm.
sum up some of your beliefs and some of what you want to get across. What is your words of wisdom in closing?
Count on contentment. Trust the path of happiness and joy. Nothing in your life is going wrong. Surrender to the feeling of joy and trust. You're actually living in a totally safe universe. If you're entertaining thoughts that make you feel unsafe, let those go, because you bring about what you think about.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And I would say, just add that I believe that we all have abilities beyond our wildest imagination sometimes. And the more we tune in and the more we listen, the more we read, which is listening. Everything to me is listening anyway. When you're reading, you're getting information. So everything to me is listening, but I'll use different words. The more we listen, the more we connect, the the harder we work sometimes. We have all this opportunity in us. And sometimes it takes a Bob, sometimes it takes a Marilyn, sometimes it takes an Amnon, sometimes it takes a Nathaniel over there, whoever you can get information from, whoever you resonate with. That is, or method, that is what you want to listen to. And we're at different, points in our continuum, but the information is out there. So Bob, tell everybody where they find you.
Well, if you want to just check out the method, go to lovethemethod.com. That's lovethemethod.com. If you want to learn more about the work I do regarding parenting, you could go to boblancer.com, BOBLANCER.com. So those are the two different sites that you can check out. And as far as the method goes, if anyone's having difficulty getting into these places of peace, letting go of whatever was blocking you from really trying this out and experiencing how beautiful and joyful your life can be, I'm happy to schedule you for a demonstration over the phone or via Skype. The method will take about 10 or 20 minutes. And, there's no charge for it. It's time for you to experience joy.
So I appreciate that very much. And and the other thing is, we did touch upon this thing in Orlando. I really believe that a lot of these individuals that are having issues are not feeling that some of them are just sick, right? Some of them are sick. Where the sickness started, who knows? Whether some people grow up disconnected or born disconnected, or others just don't feel the love, just have not been loved, have not felt some of the things that Bob alluded to, parents stressed out, not connecting, not feeling their feelings until they explode. So the more we love everybody, the more we share joy and appreciation everybody, the more we notice people. It's amazing what can happen when one person notices somebody else, a child, whoever it is, a teenager. When you notice another human being, another adult to an adult, what a difference a day makes, what a difference an afternoon makes, what a difference a moment makes. A lot of people just want to be noticed. And I believe that is really relevant to a lot of what we're talking about. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. I think the foundation of that is noticing yourself
mm-hmm,
and loving yourself. And to love yourself is to care about how you feel, and to notice how it's only you who can place yourself in a feeling of not being loved or worthy or noticed or significant. So it's just noticing yourself and living on that path of love for yourself will naturally guide you into more loving, compassionate, positive connections with other human beings.
absolutely. Couldn't say it better myself. And with that, so listen, if I can be of any service to you at all, please connect with me at MarilynShannon.com. You can find me at MarilynShannon.com. I'm on Facebook, Marilyn Littman Shannon. You can find me in different places, The Breaking Free Show as well. Find me at Twitter, at Marilyn Listens, at Twitter. I'm happy to be of service anytime if you have an idea for a show. If you have something to share, a tool, a strategy, a technique, please let me know. We like to share important information. So with that, Bob, I want to thank you so very much for taking the time to be here with us today and for sharing all your knowledge. It was extremely valuable. And for everybody out there, thanks for being here, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, My Life, My Will with Gisela DiCarlo, The Tanya Love Show, Health Then with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Triangle Be Well with Howard Jacobson, Lunch and Learn with Rabbi Yisrael Cutler, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, Current Affairs with Amnon Nissan. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section on nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Atomos.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.